In 2005, a documentary was released titled Bangkok Girl, directed by Jordan Clark. The film dived into the world of sex work in Bangkok, with a young woman named Pla guiding the host around the city. Pla, who was 19 years old at the time of filming, had been working as a bar girl since the age of 13. The documentary dove into her background, where she currently was in life, and the struggles that she faced. One thing that she revealed to Clark is that a lot of women are forced into prostitution from a young age, but that she managed to avoid that life and is still managing to avoid that fate during the filming. So why am I telling you about this obscure, low-budget film from the early 2000s? Well, because last year, a Redditor found out that it had seemingly vanished from the face of the earth. In a post made to the internet mysteries subreddit, user PillowTalk56 said, "I decided to rewatch the documentary. Nothing. Nowhere to buy. I have tried all the sites where you can usually watch movies for free." Despite the film being classified as a piece of lost media, it wasn't necessarily the documentary itself that people were interested in, but rather the fate of Pla. In the years that followed the release of the film, Clark didn't partake in any official interviews, so he was unable to be questioned on the girl's fate. That was until 10 years later, when the Thailand Life managed to snag an exclusive interview with him. During their questioning, they asked him about his relationship with Pla. He stuck by that it was a platonic relationship, but that she changed his life and that he thinks about her every day. A few questions later, they inquired about what happened to Pla, questioning if she was actually dead. He responded by saying that no matter what he says, people's opinions will be unchanged, and that if he were to answer the question, then he would need to release private information, which he wasn't going to do. So that's the end of the story, right? Pla passed away after the filming, and Clark doesn't want to talk about it. Makes sense, but that may not be the case. In a film review posted to the site Vanity Tours, the writer includes an interesting quote at the end. The quote that he uses is an apparent statement from one of Pla's friends. It reads, "Pla's alive and well, living a very successful married life outside of Thailand, with the ability to come and go as she pleases. The content of Jordan Clark's trash may turn out to be very damaging to her and her loved ones." The writer does not include how they sourced this quote from the alleged friend, so I did some digging of my own. The earliest instance of this on the internet dates back to 2007, when a user reviewed the film on IMDb. They write down 4 points, and the first one matches up with the beginning of the quote. But since the article was after this review, this begs another question. How does this user know what happened to Pla? Or are they simply guessing off the top of their head? So let's run the theory that she's not dead. According to people who know much more about sex work in Thailand than I do, apparently, it can be common for bar girls to fake their deaths if they no longer want to speak to someone. Of course, I'm not talking about a full-on fake funeral, but simply telling other bar girls to say, "Yup, she's dead," if someone were to ask. The writer claims to have seen written accounts of Pla's family and friends stating that she is alive. But again, he doesn't provide evidence to back this up, apart from the quote at the end without a source. So, is Clark telling the truth about her death? Or did she finally make it out of the existence she found herself in and is living a much happier life elsewhere? I suppose it's up to you to make your own theory on what you think happened to Pla. Strange Twitter profiles aren't out of the ordinary, but one popped up recently that disturbed quite a few users. A Twitter user, whose name I will blur for reasons that will become apparent later, posted this strange tweet that drew some traction. "Some men came into my house and did this to me," it read. Attached to the tweet were photographs of a man with his legs chained together. He recorded a 40-second video to further prove the dire situation that he found himself in. The video was posted along with a tweet that revealed what seemed to be his full address. He claims a short while later that the police came round to his house and drove him to the station, but that he was still bound in chains. Finally, he gave everyone following his story the update that they needed to rest easy, that he was in hospital, being treated for his wounds. He claims that he also got some insight into who was behind the situation, claiming that the orchestrator of the whole thing was a pastor whose idea of prayer was to break the user's hands and legs. But how the hell did this all start? And what is actually going on here? To give us an idea, let's look back at the user's profile. His first tweet was made on the 27th of December. and he tells the story of why he left his home country of Nigeria. He discovered that people had completely disregarded his privacy by installing hidden cameras inside his home. He reported this to the police, and they claimed that they couldn't do anything due to a lack of evidence. Eventually, he hired a lawyer and managed to get the police to do a sweep of his apartment. They never said if they found anything, but simply advised the user to leave the country and go somewhere else. And that he did, by moving to Morocco. While in Morocco, he went through some disturbing experiences and eventually ended up back in Nigeria after his elder brother proposed that if he were to move back to his home country, he would send him the money for a new laptop, as well as monthly payments to keep him going and focused on his dream of a career in programming. When he moved back, he found himself once again believing that his new apartment had been infiltrated. In the final tweet added to the thread, he says, "I know this sounds like a made-up story, but this is a story of my life, and I really need help." He links his GitHub profile, as well as begging the Nigerian police to get involved in the situation. As well as the tweet, he also made a blog post titled "Egregious Abuse of Human Rights." The post contains his full name and his address in Nigeria, the same one that he used in the tweet. One Twitter user visited his house, and it seems as though he may have had an episode and his family sent some people to help him. Despite this seeming likely, he is adamant that he did not have an episode and that the men were not part of his family. So, if we had to take a guess, this seems like someone with a serious mental illness, with a lot of people saying that it shows a lot of symptoms of schizophrenia. This person hasn't posted since January 31st, and we can only hope that they got the help that they needed, both physically, financially, and mentally. I'm telling you this because if a post like this were to show up on your feed, what would you do? As a lot of you, myself included, are interested in internet mysteries, you may assume ARG, but sometimes the reality is more disturbing. Mental illness makes a lot of people's lives a living hell, so I'm truly praying that the user is on the path to a better life. It wouldn't be a stretch to say that there is a fetish for everything. Rule 34 does exist after all, but some of these fetishes are more disturbing than others. Let me introduce you to an unsettling subreddit, Dark Side Smoking Fetish, a place where redditors can encourage each other to destroy their lungs for a sexual kick. Now, you may think that me using the phrase destroying their lungs is a bit of a stretch, but I'd quickly be proven right if we take a look at one of the top posts of all time. It is an avid poster giving a health update, and they say that due to a surgery, they had to take a break from smoking. During a scan, doctors found 4 lung nodules and went off at OP because of how much she smoked. She didn't heed the advice, and after she was fully healed, she claims to have smoked 30 cigarettes in a single day. The first comment? Complete encouragement. "So hot that you're diving back into smoking head first," the commenter said. "I can't wait to see how your baby nodules grow," said another. And that's just one example of the disturbing activity going on here. As we scroll, we can see that a lot of these users enjoy watching pregnant women smoke cigarette after cigarette. Smoking during pregnancy is extremely dangerous, that goes without saying, as it increases the risk of many complications. A lot of the women who post original content to appease this fetish are also being pushed further into addiction by the people who pay to watch. Take a user called Smoking Cutie, for example, who runs an OnlyFans account. She doesn't post any nudity to her page, simply her journey as a smoker. And quickly, she's worked her way up to almost 20 cigarettes every day. She is so deep into her addiction that she says smoking comes automatically nowadays without her even thinking about lighting one up. It's no surprise that this subreddit is quarantined, as these people are essentially helping each other kill themselves slowly. To get off in the side effects of something like smoking that not only affects you but your loved ones as well is truly disturbing. Back in 2010, Redditors witnessed a man fall into addiction right before their very eyes. His username was Spontaneous H, and he decided to try hard drugs after being intrigued by the prospect of doing them. In an Ask Me Anything post, he says that he is a 24-year-old in a well-paying job. While out and about, he stopped walking to check his messages, and a dealer approached him, asking him if he needed any drugs. Feeling like he had never taken any risks in his life, he decided to buy some weed. After the dealer made sure he wasn't a police officer, He gave him a location to meet him, and OP made his way there. After arriving, the dealer told him what was on offer, and one of his options was heroin. OP had heard so much about the drug, and it began to intrigue him, so he asked the dealer if he could purchase some. The dealer handed it over, and OP made his way home, ready to try the drug that he had so easily acquired. After arriving back home, he snorted a small line of heroin, and after a few minutes, a wave of relaxation came over him, and he claims to have felt amazing, describing it as a full body orgasm times 10. He ends the post by saying that he finally understands how people can get addicted to the drug so easily, but in an edit, begs the commenters not to lecture him on how he is going to be addicted. Although he was confident that he could avoid addiction, little did he know what would happen in the months that followed. 2 weeks later, he made another post to the subreddit. 2 weeks ago, I tried heroin once for fun, and made an Ask Me Anything I have been using since, and shot up for the first time today. After 2 weeks, he was experiencing withdrawals and felt the urge to relapse and use the drug again. He says that his girlfriend essentially broke up with him after finding out he had been using hard drugs, and that he is now feeling like he wants to die. Sadly, things would continue to get worse for OP as he would fall further into his addiction. Over a year later, he returned to Reddit with another post. I'm a heroin addict with bipolar disorder, heading to rehab tomorrow, all because I didn't listen to Reddit. I overdosed 1 week ago, and I'm in a psychiatric hospital. OP had technically died from a fentanyl overdose, but was revived by doctors. If he was found even 10 minutes later than he was, then he would have been gone. After this final post, he disappeared from the platform, leaving us with some of the most unsettling posts ever to be made on the site. Until 2017, 7 years later, when he returned with an update. He says that he was totally out of his mind at the time, but that he is happy to report that he is now 6 years clean of all drugs and alcohol. He had managed to turn his life around before it was too late. After this post, he disappeared again, but returned once more in 2021 to confirm that he was still alive and clean. So, take this as a warning. Drugs like heroin may sound like a fun time if you only do it once, but it's never only once. The line between trial and addiction is so thin that you risk crossing it no matter how mentally strong you believe yourself to be. If you are considering doing anything that has potentially life-ruining consequences and this video has made its way onto your feed, it's not worth it. Take this as a sign from the universe to stop. Hopefully, Spontaneous H can continue to live a fruitful life, full of great memories and no more addictions. A huge thank you to my Patreon supporters K4 Silver, Morrigan, Alex Rod, Entreprenaut, and Collect Key. Thank you all for tuning in to this video, and a thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the support in the channel recently. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you have a good day or night. Thanks for watching.